There are two types of people in this world. Those that reach for more, and those that just enjoy what they got.
The Kai Season 8 Episode 6 have just dropped. And honestly, I don't even know where to start because this episode was something else entirely. The title is When Truth Thaws, and I want you to really sit with that for a second, because the writers picked that title for a reason. When truth thaws, it doesn't explode all at once. It drips, it seeps, it leaks through the cracks slowly and quietly. And by the time you realize how much damage it's done, it's already too late to stop it. That's exactly what this episode is. It's not the loudest hour the Kai has ever given us, but it might be one of the most suffocating. And if you thought Nuck's death at the end of episode 5 was the moment things started falling apart on the south side, episode 6 is here to remind you that the real chaos hasn't even begun yet. Secrets are piling up, lies are stacking on top of each other, and every single person on this show is one conversation away from having their entire world collapse. So let's break it all down, because there's a lot to talk about. Let me take you back to exactly where episode 5 left off, because you cannot fully appreciate the pressure that episode 6 puts on Tiff and Victor unless you understand just how enormous what they did truly is. Tiff pulled the trigger. She looked Nuck in the eye, the man who taught her how to shoot, the man who was once her partner, the father figure in her world, and she ended him. Not because she was reckless, not because she lost control, but because she finally learned the truth that had been hidden from her this entire time. Nuck killed Rob, the man she loved, the father of her baby. And the moment that voice recording reached Tiff's ears, everything else stopped mattering. The consequences, the danger, the chaos that would follow. None of it could compete with what she was feeling in that moment. And honestly, watching her do it was one of the most powerful things this show has ever put on screen. But episode 6 opens with the part nobody wants to think about after a moment like that. The part that comes after the gun goes down and the adrenaline fades. Tiff and Victor are out in the cold, digging through snow and mud, burying Nuck's body. And I want you to really picture that scene because it tells you everything about where these two characters are right now. There is no music playing in their heads. There is no sense of victory or relief. There is just a freezing Chicago winter and two people who are now bound together by something they can never take back. Victor, who has already been through so much this season, is right there beside her. Not running, not panicking, just doing what needs to be done. And even in that moment, while they are literally in the middle of burying a man, Tiff gets a call from Keisha, and she answers it. She keeps her voice steady. She listens to Keisha excitedly talk about the engagement while standing over a grave she just dug herself. That moment alone should tell you everything you need to know about how Season 8 is operating. The South Side does not stop for grief. It does not pause for guilt. Life keeps moving, and you either keep up with it or it buries you right alongside the secrets you're trying to hide. Now here is what makes this situation so much more complicated than it might look on the surface. Tiff is not just hiding the murder of some random person. She killed Nuck. And Nuck was not just anybody in this story. He was Keisha's ex. He's the father of Keisha's child. He was connected to the 63rd Street mob in ways that put real power and real danger on the table. And the circle of people who already know what happened, or at least suspect it, is already wider than Tiff probably realizes. Victor knows because he was there. Trig helped bury the body. And now Bakari has been pulled in too, because Tiff made a move that was as calculated as it was cold. She called Bakari in, told him what really happened to Nuck, and then handed him the job of going to Nuck's house and making it look like he packed up and left on his own. She gave him that job as payback for the fact that Bakari knew the truth about Rob all this time and never said a word. She made him an accomplice. And just like that, Bakari went from someone on the outside of this situation to someone who is now neck deep in it, whether he likes it or not. And honestly, that move by Tiff is one of the most revealing things she has done all season. Because it shows you that the woman standing in that mansion right now is not the same Tiff from Season 1, or Season 3, or even Season 7. She's operating with a cold and deliberate kind of intelligence that is genuinely intimidating to watch. She's not just surviving anymore. She's managing. She's controlling the story. She is making sure that every person who could potentially expose her has a reason to keep their mouth shut. And right now, with Victor as her protector and Bakari as her reluctant accomplice, the secret feels like it might actually hold. But here is the thing about secrets in this show. They always thaw. And the first major sign that this particular secret is already starting to crack came from a man named Smitty. Smitty showed up at Tiff's place and he was not in a good mood. He has been looking for Nuck and he cannot find him anywhere, which is already setting off every alarm in his head. And here is what makes Smitty a real problem for Tiff going forward. He is not naive. He is not someone who is going to accept a vague excuse and walk away satisfied. He came right out and made it clear that he suspects Tiff had something to do with Nuck's disappearance. He even pointed out that the way she referred to Nuck as her ex-partner rather than someone she cared about felt off to him. He does not have proof, but he has instincts. And people with good instincts in the world of the Kai tend to be the most dangerous kind of threat, because they don't need hard evidence to start making moves. They just need a feeling. And Smitty's feeling is pointing directly at Tiff. For now, he walked away without escalating, but he made one thing very clear. He will be back. And when he comes back, it will be because something significant has happened. That should terrify Tiff. And honestly, watching that scene, it terrified me too. One of the things I love most about episode 6 is how it builds tension not through explosions or confrontations, but through conversations. Through the way people look at each other. Through the things that almost get said but don't. And nowhere is that tension more suffocating than in everything surrounding Emmett, Keisha, and the truth that is slowly closing in on all of them. Because right now, Keisha still doesn't know what happened to Nuck, but the distance between her and that truth is shrinking with every single scene. And watching it happen in real time is genuinely uncomfortable in the best possible way. Let's start with Emmett, because his position in this episode is one of the most interesting ones to unpack. Emmett is not a man who goes looking for trouble. He never has been. He has spent most of the series trying to be better, trying to grow up, trying to build something real with Keisha and his kids. And for the most part, he has done that. But now, without even asking for it, he has been pulled into the orbit of something that could blow up everything he has worked for. Victor told him about the tape, the voice recording where Pastor Zay confirmed that Nuck was the one who killed Rob. And Emmett, just like everyone else who has heard that tape, now carries a piece of information that is genuinely dangerous to hold. He hasn't assumed the worst yet about what happened to Nuck, but Victor made a point of telling Tiff that Emmett knows about the recording. And that single detail changes everything for Tiff, because now she has to factor Emmett into her calculations too. Think about what that means for a second. Emmett knows about the tape. Emmett is marrying Keisha. Keisha is already asking questions about why Nuck hasn't returned her calls in over a week. Keisha is the mother of Nuck's child, which means she has every reason in the world to keep pressing until she gets a real answer. And Emmett, who is now on the path to building his entire future with this woman, is not the type to keep a secret from her forever. He might try. He might hold it together for a little while out of loyalty to Victor and a desire to protect the life they are building. But Emmett and secrets have never been a good combination on this show. And the fact that the gap between Keisha and the truth is narrowing, largely because of how close she is to Emmett, is one of the most elegant pieces of storytelling episode 6 has to offer. And Keisha herself is already starting to feel that something isn't right. She reached out to Nuck and got nothing back. She brought it up to Tiff, who immediately tried to shut the conversation down by saying it's perfectly normal for Nuck to disappear for weeks without a word. Now, Tiff is good. She's very good at keeping her composure. But Keisha is not a woman who stops paying attention just because someone tries to redirect her. She noticed the way Tiff reacted. She noticed the speed at which Tiff changed the subject. And even if she didn't fully register it in the moment, those little observations have a way of adding up over time. In the world of the Kai, the people who stay quiet the longest are usually the ones who are quietly putting pieces together. And Keisha has always been one of the sharpest people in this entire story. The moment she starts connecting the dots between Nuck's disappearance, Tiff's unusual behavior, and whatever Emmett eventually tells her, the entire situation is going to crack wide open. What makes all of this even more devastating to think about is the timing. Because episode 6 is also the episode where Emmett and Keisha are supposed to be celebrating the happiest moment of their relationship so far. Tiff threw them a lavish engagement party at the mansion, which is already a wild thing to sit with when you remember that the same woman throwing this party just buried a body in her backyard days before. The party is beautiful. The gesture is generous. And underneath every single moment of it, there is this dark undercurrent of tension that the audience feels even when the characters don't. Every time someone mentions Nuck's name at that party, which happens more than once, you can feel the air get heavier. You can feel Tiff recalibrate in real time. You can feel Victor watching the room, reading every face, calculating how long this can hold. And all of it is happening while Emmett and Keisha are supposed to be standing at the center of a celebration of their love. The engagement party also brought out another layer of tension that has nothing to do with Nuck at all, which is the wedding planning itself. Once a professional gets involved and the real conversations about what this wedding is going to look like start happening, it becomes very clear very fast that Emmett and Keisha are not on the same page. Not even close. They can't agree on the guest count, the vibe, the style, or almost anything else. And while that might sound like a small thing compared to everything else going on in this episode, I actually think it matters more than it appears. Because Emmett and Keisha have always been the emotional heart of the Kai. They have been the couple that fans have rooted for through every setback, every breakup, every moment of doubt and growth. Watching them finally get engaged in episode 5 felt like a reward for years of investment. And now episode 6 is very gently reminding you that love alone is not enough to make a marriage work. There are real differences between them that need to be worked through. And with everything else closing in around them from the outside, having friction on the inside of their relationship at this exact moment feels like the show testing just how solid their foundation really is. I personally believe in Emmett and Keisha, but I also know this show well enough to know that nothing is ever simple for the people we love the most on the South Side. If there is one storyline in episode 6 that I did not see coming in the direction it ended up going, it is the Shaad and Reg situation. Because going into this episode, I fully expected Shaad's grief and anger over Nora's death to push him towards something violent and irreversible. That has always been his pattern. When Shaad loves someone and loses them, he does not sit still. He does not process it quietly. He goes looking for whoever is responsible, and he does not stop until he finds them. So when episode 6 picked up with Shaad still completely consumed by the question of who put the hit on Nora, I assumed we were heading toward a collision that would leave bodies on the ground before the episode was over. What we got instead was something far more complicated and honestly far more interesting than that. Let me back up and give you the full picture of why Nora's death is hitting Shaad this hard. Because I think it is easy to watch this show and treat her as just another casualty in a long list of losses. But for Shaad, Nora is not just another casualty. She was the woman whose testimony got him out of prison. She stood up in court and told the truth, and because she did that, Shaad got his freedom back. And then Rosalind paid Reg to have her killed because Nora had changed her testimony and was becoming a liability. Rosalind needed her gone because Nora knew enough to connect Rosalind to Alicia's murder. So Nora died because she told the truth, and because powerful people could not afford for that truth to stay in the room. And Shaad, who is already someone who carries enormous guilt about the people he feels responsible for, cannot let that go. He feels like Nora's death is on him, like her willingness to save him is what ultimately got her killed. And that kind of guilt does not just sit quietly inside a person. It demands action. So Shaad went looking. He reached out to Bakari first, because Bakari has always been one of the people closest to the street-level information that flows through the South Side. From Bakari, he eventually found his way to Brittany, who is Bakari's sister, and after some resistance, Brittany pointed him toward Reg. And that is where things got really interesting. Because Shaad showing up at Reg's house with a gun in his hand is not exactly a surprise. What is a surprise is what Reg did when he got there. Reg did not escalate. He did not try to fight his way out of the situation or play dumb about what he knew. Instead, he sat down with Shaad and made him a deal. And the terms of that deal reveal something about Reg in this